Well, a very good morning, everyone. We are ready to start the second working day of this informal meeting of the EU's foreign ministers. As we had yesterday, we are also going to have today a very tight schedule, a very full agenda. We are going to be discussing the working methods of this format. This discussion is aimed at improving our ability to come to common positions among the EU member states regarding all international issues of the day, including in various international organizations such as the United Nations. Then we will be holding a joint session with the ministers from the EU candidate countries.
The hopeful moment in Macedonia. We hope to start accession talks in the next year and a half. So I'm here to convince them that it's also in Europe's interest to do that. Thanks.
This discussion will focus on preventing radicalisation, fighting radical extremism, which is a very hot topic, if you wish, both for the member states as well as for the candidate countries.
Good thing is to discuss, first of all, with candidate countries, because radicalism and terrorism is not something that tackles only EU countries, but also candidate countries. And I think that the good cooperation and exchange of views is very important for us, for our safety.
I'm sure it's very important also to see what are the different situations. Of course, we have a real problem for the moment with Turkey. You know that the situation there is very difficult, and to my mind, it's frozen for the moment. It's impossible to go further, except in some negotiations about migration or about the foreign fighters in the terrorist activities. But for the accession process, it's impossible to go further. So we have a frozen mechanism, and we will see what kind of consequences possible on that, because we don't have the capacity now to continue the discussion with Turkey in such a difficult situation about the human rights and about the freedom of speech, freedom of press in the country since July last year.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? Well, I think it's very important that we should recognise the Turks have been going through a very difficult time. We're all concerned to make sure that Turkey moves in the right direction, and plainly all European countries, including the UK, have concerns, serious concerns about human rights in Turkey, about arrests, about the treatment of Amnesty International workers, in particular treatment of journalists. But it's always been my view that we shouldn't push Turkey away. Turkey's a great country and a strategically important country for all of us. I want to say something, if I can, about the continuing crisis in the Caribbean, where Hurricane Irma has caused, as you know, great devastation in the British Virgin Islands and elsewhere. There are now further storms moving in. Hurricane Jose. We have sent, as you know, RFA Mounts Bay will be moving from Anguilla to the British Virgin Islands later on this morning to distribute humanitarian aid there. We've announced a £32 million aid package for the area. We're sending a Foreign Office team as well as DFID teams and UK troops. And the Foreign Office has set up a hotline. If anybody is concerned about their relatives or about what is likely to happen to holidaymakers in that area, please get on to our hotline, which should be available on the website. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
About the Middle East peace process, obviously there's another key player in the area, which is the United States. In the spring, they kind of gave up the two-state solution idea, and now just recently President Donald Trump just said that the two-state solution would be also acceptable, but it's a difficult one. What signals, what messages are you hoping to get from the United States in this process?
If we had an easy solution to the conflict, probably they would have found it during this last 5 or 6 decades. It's clear that the conflict solution is not easy. Still, it's necessary, because it's potentially a ticking bomb, a security issue for the entire region. First of all, an issue of international right, We, as European Union, always take as a reference the numerous number of UN Security Council resolutions that were adopted in the past decades. Another very strong point of reference for us is the Arab Peace Initiative and the work that our Arab friends have developed in these recent years, and in particular the dialogue we are constantly carrying out on this issue, in particular with Jordan, with Egypt, with the countries in the Gulf, with the Arab League, to find a way to accompany the parties. What we expect from the United States is to stay committed, to stay engaged, to work with the rest of the international community through the quartet and other means, in particular in relation with our Arab friends, to help the parties find a solution. Our belief is that there is no alternative to the two-state solution, simply out of realism. We have been working on this file forever as Europeans, and as our Arab friends, we are convinced, and as the rest of the international community, we are convinced that it would simply be impossible for the parties to agree on any alternative than the two states. We hope to work together. We are ready to work together with the United States. We are working already together with the United States. We believe that has to be it's not appropriate to say it has to be the appropriate objective, because it's not us defining the outcome of what has to be a direct negotiation between the parties, but we simply see out of experience that other alternatives might prove to be impossible.
And now comes the last one. Thank you, that's all.